forced partnership. The vast expanse of space stretched before Captain Elena Reyes as she guided her ship, the UES Horizon, through the asteroid field on the outskirts of the Sol system. It was supposed to be a routine patrol, but the tension in her shoulders told a different story. Humanity had recently made first contact with an alien species called the Zarkai, and relations were complicated. Elena's fingers danced across the controls, expertly maneuvering the sleek vessel between chunks of space rock. Her co-pilot, Lieutenant James Chen, called out sensor readings, his voice steady despite the looming threat of collision. "Picking up an anomaly at 2 o'clock, Captain," James reported, his brow furrowing. "It's not matching any known signatures." Elena's heart rate quickened. "Hostile. Unknown, but it's approaching fast." Before Elena could respond, a flash of blue light erupted before them. The horizon shuddered, claxons blaring as system after system went dark. Elena's hands flew over the controls, but nothing responded. "We're dead in the water," she growled, frustration and fear warring within her. As the horizon drifted, helpless, a sleek, silver craft emerged from behind an asteroid. Its design was unlike anything Elena had ever seen. Organic curves blended seamlessly with sharp angles, creating a form that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "Zarkai," James whispered, his voice a mix of awe and apprehension. The alien ship drew closer, and Elena tensed, ready for a fight. But instead of weapons fire, a beam of soft green light enveloped the horizon. Elena felt a strange tingling sensation, and then the world around her faded to black. When Elena regained consciousness, she found herself in a stark white room. The air hummed with an energy she couldn't quite place, and the gravity felt off. She sat up slowly, her military training kicking in as she assessed her surroundings. "I see you're awake, human," a melodic voice said from behind her. Elena whirled around, dropping into a defensive stance. Before her stood a being unlike any she'd ever seen. Tall and lithe, with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer with every movement, the alien regarded her with large, almond-shaped eyes that swirled with colors Elena couldn't even name. "I am Zorak," the alien said, making a gesture that Elena assumed was meant to be non-threatening. "Welcome aboard the Celestial Harmony." Elena's mind raced. She'd been briefed on the Zarkai, of course, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of standing face-to-face with one. "Captain Elena Reyes of the UES Horizon," she replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Why have you brought me here?" Zorak's expression shifted in a way Elena couldn't quite interpret. "Your presence here is unexpected, Captain Reyes, but perhaps it is also fortuitous." Before Elena could demand clarification, a holographic display flickered to life between them. It showed a star map of a region Elena didn't recognize, with pulsing red points scattered throughout. "Our worlds stand on the brink of war," Zorak explained, her tone grave. "But there are those among both our peoples who believe conflict can be avoided. We had hoped to make contact with your leaders to propose an alliance." Elena's eyes narrowed. "By disabling my ship and abducting me." Zorak had the grace to look abashed, or at least, Elena thought that's what the alien's expression conveyed. "A regrettable miscalculation. We had not anticipated encountering a human vessel so far from your established territories." Elena took a deep breath, forcing herself to think beyond the immediate situation. If what Zorak said was true, the implications were staggering. "What kind of alliance are we talking about?" The hologram shifted, showing images of human and Zarkai ships flying in formation, of the two species working side by side on what looked like advanced technology. "A joining of our strengths," Zorak explained. "Your species possesses an inventiveness, an adaptability that we admire. Combined with our technological prowess and deep understanding of the cosmos, we could face the true threats that loom beyond the stars." Elena's mind reeled. It sounded almost too good to be true, which meant it probably was. "And what do you need from me?" Zorak's eyes seemed to glow with an inner light. We propose a pilot exchange program. Human and Zarkei crews, working together, learning from each other. You, Captain Reyes, would be paired with me. Elena couldn't help but bark out a laugh. You're joking, right? I'm supposed to just abandon my post, my crew, to fly around with an alien I've just met. Zorak's expression remained impassive. The alternative, I fear, is war. A war that neither of our species can afford to fight. The weight of the situation settled on Elena's shoulders. She thought of her family back on Earth, of the hard-won peace humanity had finally achieved after centuries of conflict. Could she really turn her back on a chance, however slim, to preserve that peace? I'll need to contact my superiors, Elena said finally. This isn't a decision I can make alone. Zorak nodded, a gesture that looked oddly human. Of course, we will restore power to your ship and escort you back to your territory. But know this, Elena Reyes, time is not on our side. The forces that push for war grow stronger with each passing day. As Elena was led back to the horizon, her mind raced with the implications of what had just transpired. She knew that the moment she reported this encounter, her life, and potentially the fate of humanity, would change forever. James was waiting for her when she boarded, his face a mask of relief and concern. Captain, are you all right? What happened? Elena took a deep breath, steeling herself for the chaos she knew was about to unfold. Lieutenant, set a course for Earth. We need to get to High Command immediately. As the Horizon's engines hummed to life, Elena cast one last glance at the Zarkei ship. Zorak stood in a viewport, her alien features unreadable. Elena couldn't shake the feeling that she was staring into a future she couldn't begin to comprehend. The journey back to Earth was tense, filled with debriefings and endless questions from increasingly high-ranking officials. By the time they reached orbit, Elena felt like she'd been put through a mental wringer. The landing bay of Earth's primary space station was a hive of activity when the Horizon docked. Elena stepped off her ship to find herself face-to-face with Admiral Juarez, the head of Earth's defense forces. Captain Reyes, the Admiral said, her voice tight. I hope you understand the gravity of the situation you've placed us in. Elena straightened her spine. Yes, ma'am. But with all due respect, I believe we're facing an opportunity, not just a crisis. Admiral Juarez's eyes narrowed. Walk with me, Captain. As they moved through the bustling corridors of the station, the Admiral spoke in low tones. The Security Council has been in emergency session since we received your initial report. The Zarkei proposal is divisive, to say the least. But surely I see the potential benefits, Elena pressed. The Admiral's laugh was without humor. Some do. Others see it as a trap, a way for the Zarkei to infiltrate our defenses and gather intelligence. They reached their observation deck, the curve of Earth visible through the reinforced windows. The Admiral turned to face Elena, her expression grave. The Council has reached a decision, she said. We will accept the Zarkei proposal on a limited trial basis. Elena felt a surge of hope, quickly tempered by the Admiral's next words. You, Captain Reyes, will be our guinea pig. You'll be paired with this, Zorak, for a series of joint missions. Your performance, your ability to work together, will determine the future of human-Zarkei relations. The weight of responsibility settled on Elena's shoulders like a physical thing. I understand, Admiral. I won't let you down. Admiral Juarez's expression softened slightly. This isn't just about following orders, Elena. The fate of our species could rest on your shoulders. Are you prepared for that? Elena thought of Zorak, of the strange mix of alien and familiar she'd sensed in the Zarkei. She thought of the vastness of space and the unknown threats that might be lurking in its depths. Finally, she thought of Earth, of humanity, and all they had achieved. I am, Admiral, she said, her voice firm. Whatever it takes to secure our future. As Elena left the observation deck, her mind already racing with preparations for the mission ahead, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a new chapter of human history, one that would be written among the stars. Training and tension. The Zarkai training facility loomed before Elena, a structure of sweeping curves and impossible angles that seemed to defy Earth's architecture. She stood at the entrance, duffel bags slung over her shoulder, trying to quell the butterflies in her stomach. This was it, the beginning of her joint mission with Zorak. As if summoned by her thoughts, the Zarkai appeared beside her, moving with a fluid grace that still caught Elena off guard. Captain Reyes, Zarok greeted her, those mesmerizing eyes swirling with what Elena had come to recognize as anticipation. "Are you prepared to begin?" Elena nodded, squaring her shoulders. "As I'll ever be. Let's do this." The interior of the facility was a marvel of technology. Holographic displays lined the walls, showing star charts and ship schematics that shifted and changed as they walked. Other human Zarkai pairs moved through the corridors, some engaged in animated discussion, others eyeing each other warily. "Our first task," Zarok explained as they entered a large, circular room, "is to achieve neural synchronization." Elena blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" A smile tugged at Zarok's lips, or at least the Zarkai equivalent. "To pilot our most advanced ships effectively, we must be able to anticipate each other's thoughts and actions. The neural link allows for this." Before Elena could voice her concerns, 2 chairs descended from the ceiling. They looked more like something out of a sci-fi movie than any pilot's seat she'd ever encountered. "Is this safe?" Elena asked, eyeing the metallic tendrils that snaked from the headrest. Zarok's expression turned serious. "There is always risk in pushing boundaries, Elena, but I assure you, the process has been thoroughly tested." Taking a deep breath, Elena settled into the chair. The metal was cool against her skin as the tendrils connected to her temples. She closed her eyes, bracing herself for, she wasn't sure what. At first, there was nothing. Then, like a wave crashing over her, Elena felt another presence in her mind. It was alien, vast, filled with concepts and memories she couldn't begin to comprehend. She gasped, instinctively trying to push it away. "Relax, Elena," Zarok's voice echoed in her mind. "Don't fight it. Let our consciousnesses merge." Slowly, Elena forced herself to relax. The alien presence became less overwhelming, settling into a comfortable coexistence. She opened her eyes to find Zarok looking at her with a mixture of concern and excitement. "That was intense," Elena managed. Zarok nodded. "The first connection is always the most difficult, but with practice, it will become second nature." Over the next few weeks, Elena and Zarok spent countless hours in the neural synchronization chamber. Slowly but surely, they learned to work as one, their thoughts and actions flowing together with increasing smoothness. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural differences and misunderstandings led to frequent clashes. "You're being reckless," Elena snapped one day after a particularly harrowing simulation. "We nearly crashed into that asteroid because you refused to follow standard evasive procedures." Zorok's skin flickered with patterns that Elena had come to associate with frustration. "Your standard procedures are inefficient. My maneuver would have cleared us with a much wider margin." "Maybe in a Zarkai ship," Elena retorted, "but we're flying a hybrid craft. You can't just ignore the human elements of its design." Their arguments often ended in stalemate, both too stubborn to fully concede to the other's point of view. But as the days wore on, something unexpected began to happen. They started to find a middle ground, blending their different approaches into something new and unique. During one simulation, they encountered a situation that would have stumped either of them individually. A massive solar flare threatened to fry their ship's systems, while a swarm of hostile drones closed in from the other direction. Without speaking, Elena and Zarok moved in perfect synchronization. Elena's quick thinking led them to use the solar flare's electromagnetic pulse to disable the drones, while Zarok's intimate knowledge of stellar phenomena allowed them to ride the edge of the flare, using its energy to boost their speed and escape. As they emerged victorious, both were breathing hard, the rush of adrenaline, or whatever the Zarkai equivalent was, coursing through them. That was Elena began. Impressive, Zarak finished. They looked at each other, a new understanding passing between them. For the first time, Elena felt like they might actually be able to pull this off. But their growing camaraderie was put to the test when they received their first real mission briefing. Admiral Jerez's hologram flickered to life in their quarters, her expression grim. Captain Reyes, Pilot Zarak, we have a situation, the Admiral began without preamble. A human colony in the Epsilon Eridani system has gone dark. Our long-range scans have detected an unknown ship in orbit around the planet. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Hostile aliens. The Admiral's frown deepened. Unknown, but given the colony's silence, we have to assume the worst. Your mission is to investigate, and if necessary, defend the colony. Zarak stepped forward. Admiral, with respect, this sounds like a matter for human military forces. Why send a joint human Zarkai team? Because, Pilot Zarak, we don't know what we're dealing with. Your combined skills and technology give us the best chance of success and survival. The Admiral's gaze hardened. This mission will be the true test of our alliance. Succeed, and you'll prove the value of our cooperation. Fail. She didn't need to finish the thought. Elena and Zarak exchanged glances, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on their shoulders. We understand, Admiral, Elena said. When do we leave? Immediately. Your ship is being prepped as we speak. Good luck, both of you. The fate of our alliance, and possibly that colony, rests in your hands. As the hologram flickered out, Elena turned to Zarak. All their previous disagreements seemed trivial in the face of this new challenge. Well, Elena said, trying to inject some lightness into her voice, I guess this is what we've been training for. Zarak's skin shimmered with a pattern Elena had never seen before. It took her a moment to realize it was the Zarkai equivalent of a nervous smile. Indeed, Zarak replied. Let us hope our training proves sufficient. As they made their way to the hangar, Elena couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. They were about to fly into unknown danger, in an experimental ship, with the future of human-Zarkai relations hanging in the balance. And yet, as she glanced at Zarak walking beside her, she felt a strange sense of calm. Whatever they were about to face, at least they would face it together. The hangar bay doors opened, revealing their ship, a sleek hybrid of human and Zarkai technology. Its hull gleamed under the harsh lights, a promise of power and speed unlike anything either species had created before. Elena took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. Ready, partner. Zarak's eyes swirled with determination. Always, Captain Reyes. As they boarded the ship, Elena couldn't help but feel that they were stepping into a new chapter of history, one that would be written among the stars by human and Zarkai hands working together. The unexpected mission. The hybrid ship, christened the Starbridge, sliced through the inky blackness of space with a grace that belied its immense power. Elena sat in the pilot's chair, her hands hovering over controls that were part familiar, part alien. Beside her, Zarak's fingers danced across a holographic interface, monitoring systems that Elena was only beginning to understand. ETA to Epsilon Eridani, 3 hours, Elena announced, her voice taut with anticipation. Zarak's skin rippled with a pattern that Elena had come to recognize as acknowledgement. All systems are functioning within optimal parameters. The Starbridge is performing admirably. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Despite the gravity of their mission, she couldn't help but feel a thrill at piloting this marvel of joint engineering. The Starbridge responded to her commands with a quickness that bordered on precognition, a result, she knew, of the neural link she shared with both the ship and Zarak. As they approached the Epsilon Eridani system, tension began to mount in the cockpit. The unknown ship that had been detected near the human colony loomed large in both their minds. Initiating long-range scans, Zarak announced, her voice calm, but with an undercurrent of urgency. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a magnified image of their destination. The colony planet hung like a blue-green jewel against the backdrop of space, but there in high orbit was something that made Elena's breath catch in her throat. The unknown ship was massive, easily dwarfing the Starbridge. Its design was like nothing Elena had ever seen, all sharp angles and jutting protrusions, as if it had been carved from a single piece of obsidian. "Are you seeing this?" Elena whispered, unable to tear her eyes away from the screen. Zarok's skin had taken on a pale, almost translucent quality that Elena associated with shock. "I am. And I recognize it." Elena's head snapped around to face her partner. "What? How?" "It is a ship of the Void Heralds," Zarok said, her voice barely above a whisper. "An ancient race, thought to be extinct. They were our conquerors, Elena. They subjugate worlds, strip them of resources, and move on." A chill ran down Elena's spine. "Why haven't I heard of them before?" "Because they haven't been seen in our part of the galaxy for millennia," Zarok explained. "Their return, it changes everything." Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the Starbridge. The massive ship had detected their presence and was turning to face them. "Evasive maneuvers," Elena shouted, her hands flying over the controls. The Starbridge responded instantly, diving and rolling away from the incoming barrage of energy weapons. Zarok worked furiously at her station, reinforcing shields and preparing countermeasures. "We need to warn the colony," Elena gritted out as she pulled the ship into a tight loop, narrowly avoiding another blast. "Agreed," Zarok replied. "But first, we must survive." For what felt like hours, but was likely only minutes, Elena and Zarok fought a desperate battle against the Void Herald ship. The Starbridge's agility and their combined piloting skills kept them alive, but they were clearly outmatched in terms of raw firepower. Just as Elena was beginning to fear they'd have to retreat, leaving the colony to its fate, Zarok made a startling discovery. "Elena, look," she exclaimed, pointing to a readout on her console. "The Void Herald ship, it's not fully powered. I'm detecting massive energy fluctuations in its core." Hope surged through Elena. "Can we exploit that?" Zarok's eyes swirled with intense concentration. "Possibly, but it would require precise timing, and a maneuver I'm not certain the Starbridge can perform." "Tell me," Elena said, her jaw set with determination. As Zarok explained her plan, Elena felt a mix of exhilaration and terror. It was risky, borderline suicidal, and relied on split-second timing. In short, it was exactly the kind of crazy scheme that might just work. "Let's do it," Elena said, her hands tightening on the controls. What followed was a dance of death and daring. Elena pushed the Starbridge to its absolute limits, weaving through the Void Herald's energy blasts with millimeter precision. Zarok, meanwhile, worked to modulate their own weapons, timing each shot to coincide with the fluctuations in the enemy ship's power core. The cockpit was filled with the sounds of straining metal and the crackle of energy discharges. Sweat beaded on Elena's forehead as she executed maneuver after impossible maneuver. And then suddenly, it was over. A final, precisely timed shot from the Starbridge struck the Void Herald ship. At the exact moment, its energy core fluctuated. There was a blinding flash of light, and then silence. The massive ship hung motionless in space, dark and lifeless. Elena and Zarok sat in stunned silence for a moment, scarcely able to believe what they'd just accomplished. We did it," Elena breathed, her voice filled with a mixture of exhaustion and disbelief. Zarok's skin rippled with patterns of excitement and relief. "Indeed we did, partner. Your piloting skills are most impressive." Elena couldn't help but laugh. "And your tactical genius saved our skins. I guess we make a pretty good team after all." As the adrenaline of battle faded, the reality of their situation set in. They had neutralized the immediate threat, but the colony still needed their help. "We should contact the colony," Elena said, already reaching for the communications array. Zarok nodded in agreement. "Yes, And we must also report this encounter to both our governments. The return of the Void Heralds, it changes the equation of our alliance significantly. As Elena established contact with the colony and began coordinating rescue efforts, she couldn't help but reflect on how far she and Zarek had come. From reluctant partners to a seamless team that had just taken down a threat neither of their species could have faced alone. The future was uncertain, filled with new dangers and challenges, but as Elena glanced at Zarok, busy compiling a report on the Void Heralds, she felt a surge of hope. Whatever came next, they would face it together, human and Zarkai, united against the darkness of space. Little did they know, their greatest challenges and most unexpected developments were yet to come. Battle and bonding. The aftermath of their encounter with the Void Herald ship was a whirlwind of activity. Elena and Zarok spent days on the colony planet, coordinating relief efforts and gathering intelligence. The colonists, while shaken, had managed to avoid the worst of the Void Herald's attack by going into deep underground bunkers. As they worked, Elena found herself growing increasingly impressed with Zarok's abilities. The Zarkai's analytical mind and vast knowledge complemented Elena's quick thinking and leadership skills perfectly. They moved in sync, anticipating each other's needs and filling in gaps without a word needing to be spoken. One evening, as they sat atop a hill overlooking the colony's main settlement, Elena turned to her partner. "You know, when we started this mission, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you're here, Zarok." Zarok's skin shimmered with a warm glow that Elena had come to associate with pleasure. "The feeling is mutual, Elena. Our partnership has proven more rewarding than I anticipated." As they watched the twin suns of Epsilon Eridani set, casting the sky in hues of purple and gold, Elena felt a strange tightness in her chest. She pushed the feeling aside, focusing instead on the task at hand. "We should head back to Earth soon," she said, rising to her feet. "The Security Council will want a full report on the Void Heralds." Zarok nodded, her expression turning serious. "Yes, and my people must be warned as well. This threat concerns us all." Their return journey to Earth was tense, filled with speculation about what the reappearance of the Void Heralds might mean for the galaxy. But beneath the worry, Elena couldn't ignore a growing warmth whenever she looked at Zarok. She told herself it was just the bond of soldiers who'd faced death together, nothing more. The debriefing on Earth lasted for days. Military strategists, politicians, and scientists from both species grilled them relentlessly about every detail of their encounter. Through it all, Elena and Zarok stood united, their stories aligning perfectly thanks to their shared experience. It was during one of these sessions that Admiral Juarez dropped a bombshell. "In light of your successful mission and the new threat we face," the Admiral announced, her voice echoing through the conference room, "the Security Council has decided to fast-track the integration of our forces. Captain Reyes, Pilot Zarok, you two will lead the first fully integrated human Zarkai battle group." Elena's jaw dropped. Battle group. But we've only just begun to work together as individuals." Zarok, usually so composed, looked equally stunned. "Admiral, with all due respect, is this not moving too quickly? Our peoples still have much to learn about each other." Admiral Juarez's expression was grim. "We don't have the luxury of time. The Void Heralds represent an existential threat to both our species. We need to be ready, and your success has proven that integration is possible." As they left the briefing, Elena's mind was reeling. She glanced at Zarok, seeing her own mix of excitement and apprehension mirrored in her partner's swirling eyes. "Well," Elena said with a wry smile, "I guess we'd better start planning how to run a battle group." Zarok's skin rippled with what Elena now recognized as determination. "Indeed, it seems our greatest challenge yet lies ahead." The next few months were a blur of activity. Elena and Zarok worked tirelessly to bring together the best pilots and crew members from both species. There were cultural clashes, misunderstandings, and moments of frustration, but slowly, surely, a cohesive unit began to form. Their battle group, christened Starforge, consisted of 5 ships, 3 human, 2 Zarkai, with the Starbridge as the flagship. Elena and Zorok split their time between intensive training exercises and diplomatic missions, serving as the face of the new alliance. It was during one such diplomatic function that everything changed. The event was held on a space station orbiting Jupiter, a neutral ground for human and Zarkai dignitaries to mingle. Elena, uncomfortable in her dress uniform, found herself gravitating towards Zorok, who looked resplendent in traditional Zarkai attire. As they stood together, watching the swirling storms of Jupiter through a massive viewport, Elena felt that now familiar tightness in her chest, but this time she couldn't ignore it. "Zorok," she said softly, turning to face her partner. I need to tell you something." Zorok's eyes swirled with curiosity. "What is it, Elena?" Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A voice crackled over the intercom. "Attention all personnel. Multiple unidentified ships have entered the system. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Elena and Zorok exchanged a look of understanding. Whatever Elena had been about to say would have to wait. They had a job to do. As they raced towards the Starbridge, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The Void Heralds had returned, and this time they were facing a united front of humans and Zarkai. The battle that followed was unlike anything Elena had ever experienced. The Void Herald ships were numerous and powerful, but the combined tactics and technologies of the human Zarkai force proved to be a match for them. Elena and Zorok moved as one, their neural link allowing them to anticipate each other's actions with uncanny precision. The Starbridge danced through the chaos of battle, its weapons finding weak points in the Void Herald ships that neither species would have discovered alone. As the fight raged on, Elena found herself marveling at how seamlessly she and Zorok worked together. It was as if they were 2 halves of a whole, completing each other in ways she had never thought possible. In a moment of relative calm, as they regrouped for another assault, Elena made a decision. If they survived this, she would tell Zorok how she felt. The realization that she might lose her partner without ever expressing her true feelings was suddenly unbearable. With renewed determination, Elena threw herself back into the fray. The battle lasted for hours, a grueling test of skill, endurance, and the strength of the human Zarkai alliance. In the end, it was a daring maneuver conceived by Zorok and executed by Elena that turned the tide. Using Jupiter's intense magnetic field to their advantage, they managed to disrupt the Void Herald's ship systems long enough to land a devastating blow. As the last enemy ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, silence fell over the battlefield. For a moment, no one dared to breathe, scarcely able to believe it was over. Then, cheers erupted across all channels. Human and Zarkai voices mingled in celebration of their shared victory. Elena turned to Zorok, her heart pounding with more than just the adrenaline of battle. "We did it," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Zorok's eyes swirled with intensity Elena had never seen before. "Yes, we did. Together." In that moment, surrounded by the aftermath of battle and the joy of victory, Elena knew she couldn't wait any longer. She reached out, taking Zorok's hand in her own. "Zorok, I think I'm in love with you." The words hung in the air between them, a confession that could change everything. As Elena waited for Zorok's response, she realized that this partnership, this connection, was the greatest adventure of all. Diplomatic intrigue. The silence that followed Elena's confession seemed to stretch for an eternity. Zorok's eyes swirled with a kaleidoscope of colors, emotions that Elena couldn't quite decipher. Then, slowly, a warm glow began to emanate from Zorok's skin, a reaction Elena had come to associate with joy. "Elena," Zorok said, her voice softer than Elena had ever heard it, "I believe I share these feelings. Among my people, we call it soul resonance, a connection that transcends physical form." Relief and elation washed over Elena. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against Zorok's in a gesture that felt both alien and perfectly natural. For a moment, they simply existed in each other's presence, the chaos of the recent battle fading away. Their moment of peace was short-lived, however. The comm system crackled to life, Admiral Juarez's voice cutting through their reverie. "Captain Reyes, Pilot Zarok, report to the war room immediately. We have a situation." Reality came crashing back. They were still in the middle of an interstellar crisis, personal feelings notwithstanding. Elena straightened, switching back into command mode. "We're on our way, Admiral," she responded, then turned to Zorok. "We'll continue this conversation later." Zorok's skin rippled with patterns of affirmation and anticipation. "Indeed we shall, Elena." The war room was a hive of activity when they arrived. Holographic displays showed the aftermath of the battle, with debris fields scattered across Jupiter's orbit. Admiral Juarez stood at the center, her face grim. "Excellent work out there," she began without preamble. "But our victory has sparked a new problem. The Galactic Council has taken notice of our alliance." Elena frowned. She'd heard whispers of the Galactic Council, a loose confederation of advanced species that maintained a fragile peace in the galaxy. Until now, both humans and Zarkai had been considered too primitive to join their ranks. "I don't understand," Elena said. "Isn't this a good thing? We've proven we can defend ourselves." Zorok's eyes narrowed. "Not necessarily, Elena. The Council, they fear change. A new power rising in the galaxy could upset the balance they've maintained for millennia." Admiral Juarez nodded. "Exactly. We've received a communique. The Council is sending representatives to assess our alliance. This could be an opportunity to gain powerful allies against the Void Heralds, or it could end with sanctions that cripple both our species." Elena felt a headache coming on. She was a pilot, a soldier, not a diplomat. But as she glanced at Zarok, she realized that their unique partnership might be exactly what was needed. "What do you need us to do, Admiral?" Elena asked, straightening her posture. "You two will act as our primary representatives," Admiral Juarez replied. "Your success as partners, as a symbol of what our alliance can achieve, may be our best chance at swaying the Council." As they left the war room, Elena's mind raced with the implications. They would be representing not just themselves, but the future of both their species. And now, with their feelings for each other out in the open, the stakes felt even higher. "Zarok," Elena said as they walked, "how do you think your people will react to us?" Zarok was quiet for a moment, her skin shifting through thoughtful patterns. "It will be unprecedented, but not, I think, unwelcome. And yours?" Elena laughed, a touch of bitterness in her voice. "Oh, there will definitely be some who object. But after everything we've been through, I'm ready to face whatever comes our way." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. Elena and Zarok underwent crash courses in galactic diplomacy, studied council protocols, and practiced presenting a united front. Through it all, their bond deepened, both professionally and personally. Finally, the day arrived. The Council representative's ship entered Earth orbit, a sleek vessel that seemed to bend light around it. Elena and Zarok stood side by side in the reception area, a united symbol of human-Zarkai cooperation. The Council delegation was a sight to behold. 3 alien species, each more bizarre than the last. There was a being that seemed to be made of living crystal, another that hovered in a cloud of shimmering gas, and a third that looked like a cross between an octopus and a tree. "Greetings, representatives of Earth and Zarkai," the crystal being spoke, its voice resonating like chimes. "I am Silos, Chief Arbiter of the Galactic Council. We have come to evaluate your alliance and its potential impact on galactic stability." Elena stepped forward, bowing slightly. "We welcome you, honored representatives. I am Captain Elena Reyes of Earth, and this is my partner, Pilot Zarek of Zarkai. We stand ready to demonstrate the strength and value of our alliance." What followed was a grueling series of interviews, demonstrations, and negotiations. Elena and Zarok were questioned extensively about their partnership, the integration of their technologies, and their plans for the future. Throughout it all, Elena was acutely aware of the undercurrent of tension. The council representatives were polite, but there was a coldness to their inquiries, a sense that they were looking for reasons to oppose the alliance rather than support it. It all came to a head during a formal dinner on the final night of the council's visit. As they sat around a table designed to accommodate the various physiologies present, Sios turned its crystalline gaze on Elena and Zorak. "We have observed your interactions closely," it said, its tone unreadable. "Your partnership seems unusually close for representatives of different species." Elena felt her heart rate quicken. This was the moment of truth. She glanced at Zarok, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "You're correct, Arbiter Xylos," Elena said, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "Zarok and I have developed a bond that goes beyond our professional roles. We believe it's a testament to the potential of our alliance, that our species can not only work together, but form deep, meaningful connections." A ripple of surprise went through the council representatives, the gaseous being swirled more rapidly, while the tree octopus creature's branches rustled with agitation. Sios was silent for a long moment, its crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. Finally, it spoke. "This is unexpected. Such a union between different species is rare, even among council members." Its tone shifted, becoming almost curious. "Perhaps we have underestimated the potential of your alliance. This bears further consideration." As the dinner concluded, Elena felt a glimmer of hope. They hadn't won the council's full support yet, but they'd made an impression. It was a start. Later, as she and Zarok stood on a balcony overlooking the city lights, Elena allowed herself to relax for the first time in weeks. "Do you think we did enough?" she asked, leaning against Zarok's warm presence. Zarok's skin shimmered with cautious optimism. "I believe we have given them much to think about. Our partnership in all its forms has shown them something new." Elena smiled, intertwining her fingers with Zarok's. "Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." As they looked out at the stars, Elena realized that their journey was far from over. The Void Heralds were still a threat, the Galactic Council's decision hung in the balance, and they had yet to navigate the complexities of a human-Zarkai relationship. But standing there, with Zorok by her side, Elena felt ready to take on the entire galaxy. Their love, born in the crucible of conflict and forged in the fires of diplomacy, was a force as powerful as any starship engine. The future was uncertain, but it was also filled with infinite possibilities, and that, Elena thought, was the greatest adventure of all. A new beginning. The days following the Galactic Council's visit were tense with anticipation. Elena and Zarok threw themselves into their duties, coordinating joint human-Zarkai training exercises and overseeing the integration of their technologies. But beneath the professional facade, both were acutely aware of the weight of the Council's impending decision. It was during one such training exercise that the news finally came. Elena and Zarok were in the Starbridge's cockpit, guiding a group of rookie pilots through a complex maneuver, when Admiral Jorez's face appeared on the comm screen. "Captain Reyes, Pilot Zarok," the Admiral said, her expression unreadable. "The Council has reached a decision. Return to Earth immediately." The journey back was filled with nervous energy. Elena found herself unconsciously reaching for Zarok's hand, drawing comfort from her partner's steady presence. "Whatever happens," Zarok said softly, her skin shimmering with reassurance, "we face it together." Elena nodded, squeezing Zarok's hand. Together. The council representatives were waiting in the Grand Hall of Earth's United Government building. As Elena and Zarok entered, followed by Admiral Juarez and the Zarkai High Commander, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Silos, the crystalline being, stepped forward. Its faceted body caught the light, sending rainbow reflections dancing across the walls. "Representatives of Earth and Zarkai," Silos began, its chime-like voice resonating through the hall. We have deliberated long on the matter of your alliance. It is unprecedented in recent galactic history for two emerging species to unite so quickly and effectively. Elena held her breath, feeling Zorak tense beside her. Moreover, Xaios continued, the unique bond demonstrated by Captain Reyes and pilot Zorak has given us much to consider about the nature of interspecies relations. There was a pause, and Elena felt as if the entire room was holding its breath. Therefore, it is the decision of the Galactic Council to formally recognize and support the Earth-Zarkai alliance. A collective gasp went through the room, followed by murmurs of excitement and relief. Elena felt a wave of emotion wash over her, joy, pride, and an overwhelming sense of possibility. Xaios raised a crystalline appendage, silencing the room. Furthermore, we extend an invitation to your alliance to send representatives to the Galactic Council. Your unique perspective and the strength of your union may prove valuable in the challenges that lie ahead. As the implications of this announcement sank in, Elena turned to Zorak. Her partner's eyes were swirling with a mix of emotions, excitement, disbelief, and something deeper, more personal. Admiral Jaris stepped forward, her voice thick with emotion. We thank the Council for their wisdom and trust. We accept this honor with humility and determination. As the formalities concluded and the room erupted into celebration, Elena and Zorak slipped away to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, a fitting backdrop for the dawning of a new era. We did it, Elena said softly, still scarcely able to believe it. Zorak's skin rippled with patterns of joy and love. Indeed we did, my Elena. Our partnership has opened doors neither of our species could have imagined. Elena turned to face Zorak, taking both of her partner's hands in her own. Speaking of partnerships, she said, her heart racing, I've been thinking. Our cultures are different, our biologies are different, but what we have, it's special, it's real. Zorak's eyes swirled with intensity. Elena, are you suggesting? Elena took a deep breath. Zorak, will you marry me? Not just as a symbol of our alliance, but as a true union of our hearts and souls. For a moment, Zorak was perfectly still, her iridescent skin glowing softly in the fading light. Then, slowly, she began to emit a soft, melodious hum, a sound Elena had never heard before. In my culture, Zorak explained, her voice thick with emotion, this is a song of soul bonding. It means yes, my love, 1,000 times yes. Their embrace was a meeting of two worlds, two cultures, two hearts. As they stood there, silhouetted against the twilight sky, Elena knew that this was just the beginning of their greatest adventure yet. The news of their engagement spread quickly, becoming a symbol of hope and unity for both their species. There were challenges, of course, cultural differences to navigate, biological hurdles to overcome, and no shortage of diplomatic headaches. But through it all, Elena and Zorak stood strong, their love a beacon for others to follow. They became the face of the Earth-Zarkai alliance, traveling to distant worlds as ambassadors and explorers. Their wedding, held a year later, was a grand affair that combined elements of both human and Zarkai traditions. Representatives from across the galaxy attended, including members of the Galactic Council. It was more than just a union of two individuals. It was a celebration of the potential for understanding and love across the stars. As Elena and Zorak exchanged vows, their words echoing through the grand hall, they knew that their journey was far from over. The Void Heralds was still a threat, lurking in the darkness between stars. The challenges of integrating their species and taking their place in the galactic community lay ahead. But as they looked into each other's eyes, one pair human, the other swirling with alien colors, they knew that together they could face anything the universe might throw at them. Their love, born in the crucible of conflict and nurtured through diplomacy and shared adventure, was a force as powerful as any in the cosmos. It was a testament to the idea that even in the vast, often hostile expanse of space, connection and understanding could flourish. As they sealed their vows with a kiss that bridged the gap between worlds, Elena and Zarok stepped forward into their new life, not just as partners, not just as symbols of an alliance, but as pioneers of a love that knew no boundaries. The stars stretched out before them, infinite in their possibility, and hand in hand, human and Zarkai, they were ready to explore them all. The end.